So if your mid-back thoracic spine is in a 50-plus-year-old body, you still should be able to do this, and this. How'd you do? Another way to check for your mid-back range of motion is into extension. And a way to really check and see what you have might be surprising to you. But if your mid back is having trouble moving, then when you do shoulder flexion, which is above the head, okay, you ought to be able to complete that motion just with the pure movement of the shoulder and keeping a good back alignment. If you are, arching back at your shoulder, your low back area, if you're, if you can't even get the arms up, sometimes it's not just what's going on in the shoulder. Sometimes it's what's going on in the mid back area. And the body's very smart in the sense that if you're having trouble completing certain motions, it's going to borrow motion someplace else in order to get it done. So that's why if you cannot move properly in the shoulders because of not having good thoracic extension or mid back extension, you're going to make up for that by extending the low back more rather than being able to bring the arms up. So, why does the thoracic change? The thoracic spine is an interesting part of the back. A lot of people emphasize the neck and emphasize the low back. But uh, what I already showed was that if your mid back thoracic spine is not working properly, it can affect how well your shoulders move. And then also, what happens is if your mid back is not working properly and not moving like it should, then it can irritate your low back because it should be a motion that is kind of complementary that goes up your spine. And so, unfortunately, we're in a society where we do a lot of sitting, and all of that sitting just changes our posture in general, whether it's that we're slouching in our chairs, we're slouching, on the sofa, we're slouching when we're, looking over our devices. All those different things actually create more of a kyphosis part, which is the curvature forward, and then you combine that with a kind of forward head, forward neck, that rounded shoulder. So we start to tighten through these areas, and we start compensating for that tightness with head, being up but not over and aligned the shoulders and the hips. So we got this forward head going, we have rounded shoulders, and then our back is spending more time into that rounded kyphosis. It's supposed to have some curvature, but not to the degree that most people have it. So when you're wanting to correct this, then you're looking at doing some of the stretches that we'll do following this section. The back itself, I guess, again, has multiple parts from the neck down to the spine and down the spine to the low back. But your pelvis is actually still your base uh, support to the spine. And so you have to have good pelvic motion as well to have good posture in your mid back. So if my pelvic bone, if I sit, and this is really where the slouching comes from, is that you tuck down through here. And when you tuck down through there, that just naturally flattens out your low back. And like I said, if you're sitting like this, you're curving that upper back area as well. So it's a combination of what we do with our sitting and the amount of time we're sitting, and the postures that we hold during that sitting time. If we were more upright, it would actually help us in a lot of different ways. So another way to see how your mid back is doing is looking at how you walk, believe it or not. I tell people when they're relearning how to move that part of the back, think about how runway models walk. It's an exaggerated motion, but what they're doing is rotating through the spine. So when you look at them coming down, the runway, their arm and leg are on opposite sides are out in front together. So it's rotate, rotate. And that is actually how your body should be moving. Now, people who do fast walking, they're getting some of that motion. But if think about how you are carrying your body when you do walking, you're holding on to stuff, you're carrying something, you're looking down at something, you're more focused on this than how your body is moving, and you start adapting to these smaller degrees of motion. And a lot of it is it's things that are happening subtly. A lot of what's happening in a body that's 50 plus years old are things that are starting very subtly. That's why I want to make you aware, because this is the time to catch it and to do something about it, to start getting a little backpedaling done on your body. But yeah, look at how you walk. Do you swing your arms? Sometimes people just swing one arm, when they're walking. But, when you go for a regular walk, practice swinging your arms and rotating. Midback motion is very, very important. People do not necessarily use it the way that they should because of the sedentary lifestyle. And then, like I said, they're not walking well and rotating well. But the other part that I see is kind of the flip side of all of this. And I get people who are doing a lot of things overhead, and then they have problems with extending their back. And that's because there are joints along the side of the spine called facet joints that can get stiff and be kind of irritated because of them doing too much of this. And so in that case, we need to do some stretching to keep that tissue limber, and so we don't start creating some other kind of joint changes in the back. So the next section, we're going to look at a few moves to help you to regain your mobility of your thoracic spine. This is to thread the needle. And basically, you're on hands and knees, feet wide. You're going to take that one arm and you're going to slide it, just reaching under and across the body. Okay. And that is just the motion there. And this is one you can do 10 times on each side. Okay. That's thread the needle. The other one is an open book. And I'll show you from both sides just because I want you to see just what the upper back should be doing. But this is the setup, and hands are on aligned in front of you, knees are stacked, feet are stacked, and you're just bringing that top arm up and behind you. Now, I'll show you a little bit on the other side, but that's the motion. But I want to show you this way. Okay, because I'll show you a common things people do. So again, my hands are stacked. I already showed you that, but I want you to see when you do this, the range. So your upper back, like back of my shoulder, is touching the floor or the mat. Now, what happens a lot of times is people, they come up and they go like this, their back stops moving, but the arm keeps going. And that's not the stretch. Okay, now this might feel good to stretch out your shoulder, okay? But the stretch is that the trunk rotates, okay? So that's how you're gonna know you're doing it right. So if this becomes a problem and it's like you can't go any further and it starts to bother you, I tell people to fold it in and then focus on getting the shoulder back. That's the full stretch. And it's actually a very good stretch, especially if you sit around on computers or do lab work and stuff like that a lot of the time. Okay, and we're going to go to a final stretch. So hopefully you're a little more body aware and just realize how important this mid portion of the back is. Posture is a huge issue when it comes to our thoracic spine. And the stretches that you learned today are part of helping in those areas. But some people probably need a little bit more work. But I would encourage you, be conscious, watch your walking, step out with your runway walk every once in a while. Make sure you're able to move and really work on that posture. It really will make a difference in your future decades. seated trunk rotation. So what you will do this is bring the leg over. You're going to put the arm on the opposite side of the leg that's crossed. And then you want to turn and look behind you and grab that chair behind you. And you should be able to look over your shoulder. Now, I can see to about this part of the wall. Try the other side here. Again, turning around and looking over your shoulder. Many times people, when they do this, they are not able to cross the legs over in the first place. And that tells you that there's some hip involvement. And if that's you, look at the hip video. And then other ways, basically, people cannot get their bodies around. And then the other part, ways that I see people have trouble is that they're so slouched, they don't have the extension ability. And so they're coming into it like this, and they really are kind of like turned like this. This is a very tall and erect stretch and capacity that you want to go for. So hopefully you're a little more body aware and just realize how important this mid portion of the back is. Posture is a huge issue when it comes to our thoracic spine. And the stretches that you learned today are part of helping in those areas. But some people probably need a little bit more work. But I would encourage you, be conscious, watch your walking, step out with your runway walk every once in a while. Make sure you're able to move and really work on that posture. It really will make a difference in your future decades.